going to tell you about is some things that come to me very early on that had to do with the Star Nation people assisting our planet. This is all about star knowledge and star connections, and what I would like to show you is how some of the ancient people, the ancient Egyptians, were actually working with the Star Nation people. I'm able to show that in a very strong and beautiful way, some actual facts that I believe that opens up the door for these relatives that came to our planet to help us. I was born a seer, a vision seeker, and so my life has been spent seeking visions for paintings, mostly my artwork. And up in about 1997, that door opened when I got involved with what's called crop circles, that I now call star glyphs. I found some very magical things within those, and that's what I want to show you tonight, early on. And some of the most mystical symbols to ever be uncovered. Very magical. So the very first crop circle that I ever walked inside of was this one. See any way of getting less light? But anyway, it appeared in 1998 and was called a seven-sided snowflake, or at least that's what I called it. And if you look real closely, there's some very faint lines inside the circle out here. As soon as I saw that, I realized that those were very significant, very important, and we're telling a story. I'll show you, here's what one of them looked like. It's actually looked like a broken line. That became very significant and it went along too. And unlocked one of the most significant symbols to ever exist. It began this way. When I tried to find a small circle within this one, thank you very much. When I tried to find this one center circle right here in the middle, if you see its location, it's sitting in a place where it's kind of arbitrarily sitting out in the middle of nowhere in this open field of this star glyph. So it's hard to find what it is. And so what I did in order to locate that, and I believe it was very important, was I created a V, a 90-degree angle, and I positioned it so that it crossed the little circles on the outside edge perfectly. And when I did that, I called that my spot and where that circle was to be located. I knew it was accurate. When I put a square inside of it like that. Do you see how the square just touches the edge of this circle here and its points just touch there? That's very significant. And it's telling a story of this circle, square, and this circle, but it's also opening up the door for what is really some major sacred geometry. That circle, square, and circle became massively important to me because that's a very ancient symbols found in native way of thinking that go way back. The square with a circle just touching the outside edge means divine balance. The circle inside the square means inner harmony, kind of like that. It wasn't too long after that I received a image from England that looked like this, and it was the same star glyph, but some mathematicians had been working on it. And through all of this, they had found a couple of five-pointed stars, but if you look at the top of it right there, they had found a very similar symbol as what I did. Looks like that, you see. It's a different angle, though. And these guys had found a couple of five-pointed stars. And it's because of how the lines crossed that made it significant. And I can't reach up there and show you right now, so I'm just going to have to trust it. But I knew I was accurate with what I had uncovered with that star glyph because of all the different elements that I found inside of it. I found over 52 symbols inside this one star glyph over a period of 3 years. And that's when I knew that the Star Nation people were really assisting us on this planet. 52 symbols. But also knew that the mathematician was correct. And at the time, I believe we were working on the same circle, and I'm going, wait a minute, how can this be? How can this be? How can this be? We're working on the same circle, yet his is larger and mine is smaller. How can that be? But we've both got accurate information. So I, in the wind of the great mystery, I decided to tie those two together as one, like this. And when I did, I uncovered this symbol right here, that V shape. That is a very, very magical symbol. Created like this. If I were to try to explain what that symbol has to do with, this V shape, it's like the way it was found tells the story of what it is. Me, who didn't understand mathematics at any level, had found this circle in this star glyph just solely from the nature of spirit in the path I had been walking. While the mathematicians, who found one of the other lines, found it because of their brilliance through mathematics and the brilliance of what I would call sacred mind in that way. It was a combination of this two that had come together of the sacred mathematical mind of science and spirit into one symbol, creating a polarity that exists through the great expanse of our universe, opening up this magical doorway for a symbol that allows all these truths to flow into our world with beauty and magic. That is one of its understandings, and it has many of them. It represents all of the symbols that have been coming across our path, that are flowing into everybody's world, that carries this dimension of sacred mind. They're just pouring into it in every direction. I would call this the symbol that represents all of that happening, all that transpiring. I was so inspired by what it meant. I had some incredible stuff that occurred for me over the next few days after this had happened. But I received a picture from England that looked like this. About 3 weeks before, some people had gone out on the winter solstice and was watching the sunrise. All of a sudden, they saw this symbol begin to drop out of the clouds, this glyph. It drifted across the sky and positioned itself over the top of where that crop circle, that seven-sided snowflake, had appeared earlier in that year. I had an animation going, but that animation isn't working, so just have to do it this way. But it's like it fell out of the sky. It moved right out of the sky and across and positioned itself, showing this magical connection between the earth and the sky, this beautiful way. I began to search other places where it might be appearing in the star glyph and began to uncover where two of them were important in different ways, like this, and finally arrived at this and left it at that. I didn't know what it had to do with, but the story would slowly uncover. About a week after this had appeared, I went to a conference in Sedona and met a person named Linda Moulton Howe, actually, some magical presenter. I bought her book and took it home. That night, I was going through the book, and all of a sudden I saw something in there. There was an image of a Star Nation person with a badge of two overlapping triangles. It said, 7-foot tall Native American with pearlescent, translucent complexion. When Juana Larson first saw the tall male, he had something over his eyes like black patches. When he took them off, underneath were gold cat eyes. He wore a patch of 2 overlapping triangles on his uniform, but she didn't know what it was or what it had to do with. They said it meant the merging of 2 worlds. That symbol and this symbol are one and the same, representing the polarity of that energy that was moving into Earth, representing all of these truths that could flow into our world in this magical way. I went to England that year, or the following year, and there was a friend there, that asked me if I'd be willing to look at a book of theirs. This book had to do with Egyptian understanding, and asked me if I would see if there was any Native American understanding inside of it. And I said, hey, you know what? I've never cracked a book on Egypt. I'm sorry, I've never opened one. I have no idea about Egypt anything. And she said, well, you don't have to know anything about Egyptian way. Just see if you see any native symbols. Well, as she was going through it, I found something incredibly important. When she opened it up to this page of the book, I said, wow, what is that? And she said, never mind, it's called the Bent Pyramid. She said it was the first authentic pyramid. It was built halfway up and then truncated at the top. The archaeologists explained that it was just simply a mistake, and so they truncated it so it wouldn't cave in. And that's been the standing explanation in all the books since the beginning. Everything said that. When I look at it, I go, oh, no. That's one of the most magical pyramids that I think I've ever seen. And she looked at me in a funny way and said, I don't understand. And I said, well, it's not what you see that's important, it's what you don't see. Allowing these sacred truths to flow into your world with beautiful magic, allowing these energies that are coming newly into your space to flow into it with ease. Whoever sat inside this pyramid would receive all of this truth from the universe through that unseen symbol that was sitting in the top.
For more information on the next Star Knowledge Conference, go to starknowledgeconference.com.